Hey, you're listening to the Boston Celtics newsfeed. This is Celtics Roundtable, powered by CLNS Radio, the leading online audio-video provider of your favorite Boston sports teams. I'm Matt Engel alongside Eddie Santiago and Evan Valenti. We've all got questions here, so let's see if we can find some answers. Evan teased it on the last pod, so I'll let him ask the first question related to rest. Take it away, Evan.
Yeah, this is a big storyline. Ramona Shelbourne came out earlier Monday with the article on, and I haven't read the whole thing yet. I've been a little busy, but with the idea that Adam Silver is meeting with some NBA executives from around the league to discuss resting guys over the next stretch of the last stretch of the NBA season, because this has obviously become a problem with certain teams, Golden State and Cleveland, obviously trying to rest guys up to get ready for the playoffs. The Spurs also in that mold as well. But as a consumer of basketball, whether you're a fan in the stadium or watching on television, the product obviously isn't as good, and people get really upset about it. Looks like they might be trying to figure out how to kind of bring that issue down to earth a little bit and make it a little bit easier for fans to experience the full entourage of squads on each side. But if nothing really changes between now and the rest of the season, do the Boston Celtics have the luxury of resting guys? I don't know if they do, and if they do, should they? Because sometimes that creates some rust problems. Thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I think they should pass on resting, honestly. I mean, you're still in the race for the 2 seed, and you're still in the race for the 1 in the East. When you're still behind, when you're behind, two and a half games with Cleveland right now, you don't want to rest starters in the 4 losing. I mean, we've seen what happened without Isaiah Thomas in the lineup. Lost to the Sixers, and it was, a close game against the Nets. It was, you don't want to go down and then end up losing ground on Cleveland and having Washington gain ground on you for the 2 seed. I think they should just, maybe cut down the minutes in game, but not outright rest them for a full game.
I'm in agreement with Eddie. The Celtics, no one seems too heavily taxed on the team. The Celtics do provide their guys with some rest, in the games. Isaiah Thomas is leading the team in 34 minutes per game. That maybe that's a little bit higher than you'd like, but it's not LeBron James, it's not James Harden. The rest of the Celtics starters, except for Amir Johnson, are in the low 30s. But isn't this what sports science is supposed to do? I remember reading in that Zach Lowe article from a couple of years ago how I think it was during the 2015 season, how the Warriors, their sports science team or whatever, using cameras and stuff, got indications that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's legs were being especially taxed, and that they were perhaps at a higher risk for injury at some point during that 2015 season. So what did the Warriors do? They rested them. Hopefully the Celtics have some sort of similar system in place where they can track players' movements and determine if some guys are being too heavily taxed and perhaps are more prone for injury. So I think while ideally you would like to rest at certain points in the season, the Celtics are in the thick of a playoff race, and home court advantage is going to be huge for this team. So maybe the last couple of games if the Celtics lock it up, but I don't think the Celtics are going to do it prior to that.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you. They have something to play for. The Celtics don't have the ability to say, Isaiah, just take a night off, because they clearly need him to score. As Eddie pointed out against Philly, they needed him in the worst way late in the game, and they didn't have a guy like that, and they blew that game.
Instead of banning rest, to follow the science, and I don't really see a reason for 82 games in a season. Not with what we know today about what it does to players' bodies in the modern era. I think it's a little bit excessive. And I don't know what they think in terms of potential lost revenue in terms of that, but I hope it's something that the NBA considers going forward. But it doesn't really look like it's on the table right now.
Too much money on the line. Too much money on the line. They're not cutting down these 82 games.
It might just be too much risk. You never really know if you make a drastic change like that, what's going to happen. You can make an argument, I guess, that they could wind up making more money by making the games more meaningful and reducing player injuries, which is going to increase interest and stuff. But that might be a little bit too much risk to assume when everything's going pretty well for the NBA. Yeah. So we just saw the first weekend in March Madness. It was a kind of pedestrian round of 64, but the round of 32 was awesome. And for me, the game I'm most looking forward to in the Elite Eight, and with apologies to Eddie's Mountaineers, it's UCLA, Kentucky, Lonzo Ball going up against De'Aaron Fox, Part 2. I'm pumped for this game. Are you guys pumped? What are you hoping to learn from this game? Because I had it circled before the tournament, and now I'm just excited that it's going to come to fruition here.
I mean, I really want to see De'Aaron Fox lock in on defense. I want to see what he can do to stay in front of the guys they put in front of him. Obviously, Lonzo Ball is the NBA level talent on it, so I want to see what he does going up against him. What he can do offensively is the key to me. How has his shot improved? Has his shot improved at all?
Yeah, I mean, he has. I don't think he's hit a three thus far.
Yeah, I mean, we call him
he outplayed Lonzo Ball in their first matchup, I thought.
We call him a blur because he's probably as fast as John Wall was coming out of college too. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he plays in transition, to see if he becomes just as effective as John Wall and stuff like that. I mean, this is going to be a lights out game because it's pro level talent all over the court.
Yeah, I'm interested. I picked UCLA to win it all, basically because I love Lonzo, man. I watched him against who they played the other night. They played Cincinnati, right? Yeah, 3-6. He had a pretty pedestrian first half, and then in the second half he had 2 step back threes and was flinging the ball over the place. He ended up with like 18, 9, and 7, and led his team in points, rebounds, and assists. And
dude is magical, man.
The guy is
so
unbelievable. I'm not really focused on the De'Aaron Foxes of the world and the Malik Monks of the world because Boston's not going to end up with either of those guys. I'm really curious. I'm really locked in on 4 guys, and one of them has now been eliminated, Jason Tatum. I'm really locked in on Josh Jackson of Kansas, and we'll never see Markelle Fultz. And I'm locked in on Lonzo, what these guys can do at the highest level in college. What do they possess? Like I thought, we texted about this in the group chat. I thought Josh Jackson in the game against Michigan State was phenomenal, especially the second half of the past, 10 minutes of that game. I thought he was all over the place. And defensively, especially when you look at him and you start to extrapolate what he might become defensively, he is an impact type player. If that shot's for real, and he had a step back 3, I think, with Bridges in his face against Michigan State in that game. I thought that was really interesting. So as much as I want to, I like Malik Monk and I like Bam Adebayo and I like TJ Leaf and a bunch of these other guys, but I'm really focused on the high end talent because Boston's ending up with one of them. And I'm really thrilled to see what Lonzo Ball can do here against a team in Kentucky that's really good, a team in UNC potentially that's really good, maybe a Kansas team, and then maybe Arizona again. I mean, the gauntlet for this UCLA team is going to be very difficult, and you'll have a really good idea of how Lonzo plays when the competition gets really tough.
Yeah. I think Kentucky and De'Aaron Fox, they're filled with NBA level athletes, so it's going to be super interesting to see how he responds to the type of pressure they put on him. I'm excited.
One quick thing about Josh Jackson, he has this thing where he just it clicks and he just decides to take over basketball games. It's enjoyable to watch. Sometimes you'll see him out there floating around a little bit, and it's like, oh, I forgot I'm the most talented player on this court. Let me take it over real quick, and it's crazy how he does it.
So, Eddie and Evan, I want to pause for a second to tell our listeners about our favorite ticketing app, SeatGeek. The season is winding down. The playoff push is heating up. Maybe the Celtics will get the 2 or possibly even the 1 seed. So what I do when I want tickets to Celtics games is power up the SeatGeek ticketing app on my phone, and with just 2 taps, I know I've found the best deal because SeatGeek is the smartest and easiest way to get tickets to every game. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in mere seconds. And it doesn't end with the Celtics or any other NBA game. SeatGeek also has plenty of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too. And it's all fully guaranteed. Listeners to CLNS Radio can support this production and get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. Here's how. Download the free SeatGeek app. Go to the Settings tab and click Add a Promo Code and enter the promo code CELTSNEWS, all one word, and SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code CELTSNEWS today.
Here we go. Miami has been on a freaking tear lately. 2025 in their last 27 or so. How nervous would you guys be playing them in the first round?
So I was listening to
Lowe
Bill
and
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yeah. And Bill Simmons was terrified of the Heat. And Levy's terrified of them as well. But he said something I didn't agree with, that Whiteside is just going to, gobble up every rebound and kill the Celtics. But I actually think it's been the opposite if we've seen the last, 7 or 8 games against Miami where the Celtics have played, have have looked like they have some sort of structural advantage over him. I mean, we'll see if it carries over to the playoffs. But Jonathan mentioned it on a pretty recent pod that the Celtics' ability to stretch the floor really limits Whiteside's effectiveness. And I know Miami's on a hot streak. I just don't think they have the horses to do it. I don't fear them, I guess, any more than any other team in that tier. Evan, I know you love Dion Waiters.
I do.
But is he going to really win a playoff series for them?
I'm hoping that they play Cleveland so much. Like I'm praying the basketball gods that Miami plays Cleveland because of all the storylines that could potentially happen with that series. I love Dion, man. I covered him for 2 years while he was at Cuse. A guy that listened to my tapes when I was a youngin' at Syracuse. Danny Parkins, who is out in Chicago, has a great Dion Waiters story that he gets quoted on, tweeted on every time it comes around about how Dion used to call himself Kobe Wade because he was a mixture of Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade. He literally is one of my favorite people of all time. He is the cockiest guy I've ever talked to in my entire life. And you'll hear Durant went on Simmons' pod and they talked about Waiters Island. And Durant's Dion does believe he's the best player on the floor at all times. It's not a joke. And I'm trying to tell you guys, he is absolutely correct. Dion believes he's the best player on the floor in any game at any moment. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's worked out really well for Miami because he's been sensational. One thing that Bill and Zach talked about in that podcast, which if you haven't listened to is spectacular, is the 3-point shooting of Miami and how good they are when they spread the floor and can really spread you out. Goran Dragic is spectacular. Dion Waiters hitting 3 at a respectable clip. They have Richardson who can shoot. I know he hasn't had a good stretch of it lately, but he can definitely shoot. Tyler Johnson's been pretty good this year from 3-point range. Wayne Ellington. Those guys can all shoot threes, but I feel like the Celtics, if they have a plus on the defensive side of the ball, it's because they have great perimeter defenders. They have Marcus and Avery and Jay and Jalen, the guys that they can throw out on the wing. So I'm not really concerned about the 3-point shooting necessarily. The rebounding thing with Hassan Whiteside, where if he's able to get an offensive rebound, kick it out to a 3-point shooter, which are the best 3-point shots.
Yeah, but he doesn't pass. He doesn't pass
at all.
But he should.
If he did.
Yeah, he should pass. But you have to respect Goran Dragic because he's spectacular. Dion is having a hell of a season. Hassan Whiteside's good. But I don't think this Miami team is as deep as Boston is.
Yeah, I mean, Goran Dragic is just so crafty. He knows what to do with Isaiah. He's had a bunch of big games against him. I just kind of like the Celtics matching up against them. So, guys, the Celtics take on the Pacers Wednesday night. Aside from stopping Paul George, what do you guys think are the keys to this game?
Well, they have another guy that I like a lot, Miles Turner. The guy at 7'2" who can shoot threes and block shots, and he's
really well.
Yeah, he's a problem. And Jeff Teague always gives Boston a tough time. They have a decent starting 5, and then when you look at the bench options for them, it doesn't get really much better. Al Jefferson hasn't been good this year, really. Stuckey can be hot and cold. Glenn Robinson, we've seen him kind of get up for games against the Celtics. Aaron Brooks is a guy that can always get hot. But again, I'm not really scared of this Indiana team unless Paul George is going to go off for a ton of points and Miles Turner is a factor on both ends. If those two things aren't happening at the same time, I'm not too afraid and too terrified of an Indiana team that is poorly put together. I don't like McMillan as their head coach. I think that was a huge mistake for them. And I don't blame Paul George for kind of wanting out, to be frankly honest with you.
Getting Miles Turner away from the rim is probably going to be the biggest key.
Right.
With the way the Celtics stretched before, and I don't think that'll be a huge problem. But with the way Isaiah likes to drive and the way the Celtics head to the basket, I think getting Miles Turner away from the rim is the biggest key to that game.
All right, so there you have it. If you want to hear more about the Celtics taking on the Pacers, go listen to the pregame show, which is on the Boston Celtics news feed. Great stuff there. All right, that'll do it here at Celtics Roundtable. Give us a follow on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. And you can help us out in a big, big way by going to iTunes and giving the Boston Celtics news feed 5 stars. We would really appreciate that. Use the promo code CELTSNEWS, all one word, on your next SeatGeek purchase for $20. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Let's go Mountaineers.